Winter Mouse, A Christmas Tale by Robert Cloudy. Once upon a time, there lived a mouse called Winter. A mouse is usually a fun little animal, the heart and soul of the party, one would say. But not Winter. Winter was a grumpy little mouse. He didn't have many friends. Well, not really. None at all. Winter's story begins one Christmas, many years ago, when Winter was just a child. He had asked Santa for an unusual gift that year. What Winter wanted was no ordinary present for a child. What he wanted more than anything else was a lovely cheese board. Winter wanted to have the best Christmas ever and wanted to share the cheese with his mom, dad, and baby sister. Christmas was a very special time of the year, and Winter wanted his family to eat like kings, and for once not have to eat the scraps pillaged from the wheelie bins in the farmer's yard. "Not tonight, not this Christmas," Winter wailed. "I just want to treat my family to one day of bliss, even if it is just for one day." That night, that Christmas Eve, the snow fell and fell and fell. Winter watched from his bedroom window. The snow kept falling until there was nothing but white and blackness. Winter's mom and dad came into his room. "We need to check the food stores," his dad says. "Watch your sister until we return," he requested. Winter thought nothing of this, as during a storm of any kind, his parents would check on the food supply. Winter smiled and nodded and turned back to watch the snow falling past the window once again. After a short while, Winter yawned and decided to get into bed and go to sleep. His mom and dad had not yet returned, but Winter knew his sister, Jessica, would come to his room if she needed anything. Winter switched off his bedside lamp and rolled onto his side and went to sleep. The next morning, Winter woke to the faint tugging of his ear. Winter turned over to see a very agitated Jessica. "What's wrong?" "Where are Mom and Dad?" Winter asked. "They're gone. They're not in the house," Jessica said. Winter paused for a moment. "They went to check on the food stores last night. Did they not come back?" Winter asked. Jessica did not reply to this. Her face said it all. Winter realized something was not quite right, and he jumped out of bed and began to quickly get dressed. "It will be fine, Jessica," Winter said as he slung on his coat. Winter knew something was wrong, of course. He could tell his sister was worried, so he tried to offer her reassurance. Jessica ran to get dressed too. As she reached for her coat from her closet, Winter cut her off. "No, Jessica, you stay here. It may not be safe, and besides, someone needs to watch the house in case they come back." Jessica reluctantly agreed and retreated to the window and looked out of it. Winter opened the front door and quickly scurried through it. Outside the house, the snow covered almost everything. Winter stopped in his tracks and let out a large gasp. All that Winter could see was a few trees and smoke from the chimneys of the houses in the distance. No paw prints or tracks. Absolutely nothing. Winter checked with the local birds. He spoke with a robin called Gabriel. But he nor any of the birds had seen anyone, and Gabriel had been up since dawn. Winter also passed his neighbor, David, the hare. "Have you seen my mom and dad?" Winter asked. "I'm very sorry, Winter. I haven't seen anyone today," David said. "I hope you find them." At this point, Winter was getting worried. He arrived at the food store. It was fine. Nothing had been touched. "I better get back. Jessica will be worried too," Winter thought to himself. Winter returned home as quickly as he could. Jessica was in her bedroom sobbing into her blanket. Winter tried to reassure her. "It will be fine, Jessica," he said. "They will come back." Jessica stayed in her room the whole day. She was too upset to come out. Winter cooked a Christmas dinner for the two of them while they waited and waited. Minutes became hours. Hours became days. Weeks, months, years passed. Jessica never gave up hope. She always believed that one day Mom and Dad would return. It was a very difficult story for Winter. He became angry and irritable. He blamed himself, of course. After several years, Jessica decided to move out of their home. By this point, Winter had closed himself off from all of his friends and from her too. She wanted to start a family, so that is exactly what she did. From then on, Winter lived alone. Winter hated Christmas. All Christmas did for him was remind him of the night his parents did not come home. It was also the day that Winter stopped believing in Santa. So, Winter would never celebrate Christmas. He would ignore his sister's invites to join her with her new family. He would just sit in his chair with a glass of milk and do crosswords. And that is exactly how it would be for Winter until tonight, Christmas Eve, 30 years to the very night he lost his parents. Winter was cooking in the kitchen when he noticed a blizzard outside his window, much like the one 30 years prior. Worrying he had not locked them up, Winter grabbed his coat and walking stick and went to check on his food stores. Winter arrived at the store and made sure all his food was secure. By this point, the blizzard was getting worse. Winter was struggling to see much farther than 10 feet in front of him. "I better get home," Winter thought to himself. On his way home, he noticed a faint light in the distance. The light began to shine brighter. Now the light was accompanied by a noise of some kind. As the noise grew louder, it became clearer. It was like some sort of animal, in fact, several animals. Winter began to shiver with fear. He quickly hid behind an old fence and waited. Pretty soon, the noise and light were almost upon him, growing louder and louder. Then the noise came almost to a halt. There was somebody there. After a short pause, Winter plucked up the courage to peep over the fence. There, in the shadows, stood a man dressed in red and white. He had silvery white hair with a large bushy beard and enormous bushy eyebrows. Behind him stood 8 reindeer with a huge sled in tow. The light Winter had seen was from a solitary lantern upon the sled. The man peered down on Winter. "You there," the man gently whispered. Winter steadily walked from behind the fence. "I suppose you are Santa Claus," Winter cleverly muttered. "Why, yes, I am. Santa Claus at your service," the man said. "Are you a non-believer?" "Yes, I most certainly am a non-believer," Winter said. Then Winter paused for a moment. Winter's eyes widened as he began to speak again. "Okay, I have an idea. Prove it to me. Prove you are Santa Claus. I bet you can't." "Okay then," the man said as he chuckled and turned to his sled. "By the way," the man said as he turned back to Winter, "it's winter, isn't it?" Winter was astonished by this. "How does he know my name?" Winter thought to himself. Then, before Winter could ask the man how he knew him, the man pulled out a huge list of people and several opened letters. Winter recognized them. They were his. Winter had written to Santa every year but had not received a present in longer than he could remember. "I am so sorry, Winter," Santa Claus said. "Sorry? What for?" Winter asked. "Why, for being late, of course," the man said as he started to pull present after present off his sled. "These are your presents," the man said. "All of them. One for every Christmas I have missed." Winter was shocked. "They're all here? All of them?" he said. "A bike, a toy car, a slide. Wow, you really do exist, Winter said. The man chuckled for a moment. Well, of course I exist, Santa said. Santa explained that years and years ago he had lost the directions to Winter's house, and every year he brought all of Winter's presents along in an attempt to retrace his steps in the hope of finding him. Every year he had failed, until this year. Winter was amazed. Here, Winter, Santa said as he leaned towards him with one more present. This present is a special present by way of an apology. Winter looked up at Santa for a moment, then tore off the wrapping. An alarm clock? A puzzled Winter said. Yes, said Santa. It is no ordinary alarm clock. However, take it straight home and set it for the morning. But why? Winter asked. Winter was intrigued. Please, Winter, just do as I say, Santa requested. Okay, Santa, I will. Winter turned to scurry back home. Winter stopped and turned back to Santa. Oh, and Santa, I'm sorry for not believing. That's okay, Winter, said Santa. And in that moment, Santa hopped back on his sled and grabbed the reins. Where are you going? Winter asked. Santa smiled. I can't stay around chatting all night. I have a job to do, remember? Winter grinned, then nodded and waved as Santa sat down. Before Winter could speak again, the sled kicked into action and up into the sky. It went off into the night. As soon as Santa had gone, Winter ran home with the mystic alarm clock that he had just been given. He went straight up to his room and set the alarm for first thing in the morning. Winter got straight into his pajamas and snuggled up in his matchbox bed. The next morning arrived, and the alarm clock woke Winter up as expected. Winter rubbed his eyes and got out of bed and went downstairs in his usual dazed state. Winter walked into the kitchen to get some breakfast, and there, to his amazement, stood his mom and dad. Winter rubbed his eyes in disbelief. Mom? Dad? Winter screamed. You're both here? Winter ran to them and threw his arms around them. Why, of course we are. Are you all right? His mom asked. At that moment, Winter heard another voice. Have you fallen out of your bed onto your head again? The voice said. After a moment, Winter realized who the voice belonged to. It was Jessica's voice. As Winter turned around, his jaw dropped. Jessica was a child again. He looked into the mirror and noticed he was also a child again. Then Winter noticed that the house was different somehow. Winter paused for a moment. Wait a minute, Winter said as his eyes lit up. The alarm clock! Winter shouted as he ran out of the kitchen and up the stairs to his room. Winter's mom, dad, and Jessica all quickly followed, purely out of interest at what was going on. When Winter got to his room, he started to search his bedside table, the closet, his sock drawer, and under the bed. Nothing. It's not here, he said with a dejected expression. What, son? What's not here? His dad asked. Winter explained what had happened the night before and what had happened all those years ago when they had gone missing. Winter's mom threw her arms around Winter. It was just a dream, she said as she kissed Winter on the forehead. Winter agreed that this could be the only explanation. Then, at that very moment, Winter looked out of his bedroom window and noticed some faint sled marks on the fresh snow below. And right by the marks, there was a large cheese board with a bow around it. Winter paused for a moment. His eyes opened wide as he noticed the cheese board. Or was it a dream? Winter smiled. The end. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please subscribe and come back again.